Hi, Deidre here from Our Upcycled Life, and welcome to my channel. Are you a crafter looking to create beautiful decoupage projects with your inkjet printer? Well, before you get started, you need to know how to prevent one of the most frustrating problems, and that's ink running. There's nothing worse than putting all of your hard work into a project only to have it ruined by smudging or bleeding ink. But don't worry, in this video, I'm going to share with you some expert tips and tricks, and I'm going to show you how to avoid all of those common mistakes. So whether you're a beginner or experienced crafter, this technique will help you achieve professional looking results that you can be proud of. So we've got lots of work. Let's get started. Decoupaging with an inkjet printer can be discouraging because often when you introduce water to the printed image, the ink will run. However, there's ways to prevent this from happening, and I'm going to show you how. As you can see, when water is applied to the inkjet printed graphic, the ink runs and smears. This can be a concern when using Mod Podge, so it could potentially ruin your decoupage project. If you're using a laserjet printer, you're not going to run into this problem, but if your only option is an inkjet printer, I'm going to show you how you can prevent this. I found this great frame at a thrift store and decided to repurpose it for my project. After cutting a piece of MDF board to fit the frame, I'm now ready to move on to the next step. To begin with, we're going to take that piece of MDF that I painted with my homemade chalk paint, and I let the chalk paint dry completely. And then we're going to apply a generous layer of matte Mod Podge, covering the entire surface of that MDF. Once we have it completely covered, we're going to take the heat gun on a low setting and dry that Mod Podge thoroughly. While attempting to decoupage with an inkjet printer can always be challenging, following these few straightforward steps can lead to fantastic results. After that first layer of Mod Podge is thoroughly dry, we're going to apply another generous layer, ensuring that the entire surface of that MDF is completely covered. If you don't have Mod Podge in your crafting stash, you can actually make your own homemade Mod Podge. I have a full tutorial. I'll put the link down below in the description, and you can make some of this yourself. It's perfect for doing this type of decoupage. The homemade recipe will not work for doing an image transfer, but for decoupaging, it works perfect. Now we want to make sure that the ink is really dry on our paper. So I'm going to put it in my oven on 200 degrees for 10 minutes. Make sure you keep an eye on it and let that ink dry really well into the paper before we go on to the next step. The next step is to apply hairspray to the printed paper surface. For best results, I recommend using an extra firm hold aerosol hairspray and completely saturating the paper with it, ensuring that the entire surface is covered. This is going to help the ink set and prevent it from smudging or bleeding during the decoupage process. Next, we're going to use the heat gun on the lowest setting to thoroughly dry that first coat of hairspray. It's important not to hold the heat gun too close to the paper to avoid damaging it. We're going to continue drying until the hairspray is completely dry. Now, this step is crucial in ensuring that the ink sets and the decoupage project turns out perfectly. After that first coat of hairspray is completely dry, we're going to apply a second coat, ensuring again that that paper is completely saturated, and then use the heat gun again to dry it completely. Now I'm going to lay down a piece of parchment paper and place it on the MDF, which has 2 coats of Mod Podge. Next, I'm going to position that graphic exactly where I want it and place another piece of parchment paper on top. Using the lowest setting on my iron with no steam, we're going to gently iron on top of that parchment paper, melting the Mod Podge underneath and bonding that paper to the MDF. This is going to decoupage that graphic onto our project, ensuring that it's wrinkle-free and you'll have no smearing or running with the ink from that inkjet printer. It's worth noting again that if you have a laserjet printer, you don't need to follow any of these steps that we've just outlined. This is because the ink is bonded directly into the paper with a laserjet printer, which prevents it from smearing or running. However, if you only have access to an inkjet printer, it's essential to follow these steps carefully to avoid any of these problems. By taking these extra precautions, you're going to ensure that your decoupage project looks professional and polished as possible. It's a good idea to have a dedicated iron for your craft room. This iron should be separate from the one that you're using on your clothes, as there's always a chance of getting glue or other products on it that could ruin it. Once you're confident that the decoupaged graphic is fully bonded to the MDF, it's a good idea to apply a top coat of polyacrylic sealer. While Mod Podge can be used, I find sometimes that it introduces wrinkles and leaves the surface looking uneven. By using a spray polyacrylic sealer, it can help ensure a smooth, flat finish. I typically use a matte finish. Before I put the picture in the frame, I made the frame look rustic by distressing it with water. And the picture I glued in using some hot glue. And I think it looks really cute. You can purchase this graphic from my Etsy store if you'd like to use it for your own crafting projects. I'll provide the link for that down below in the description. I hope this video was helpful, particularly if you own an inkjet printer. It should aid you in creating crafting projects without any issues of ink running or smudging. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care.